So, I think the recording's going. Yes, okay. Welcome everyone. My session is titled Crafting AI Syllabus Statements and Reimagining Assignments in Higher Education. This is not something I was prepared to do. I found out 2 days ago that someone bowed out for the ethics track, and I was on the list of people to present. So in addition to trying to organize this concert or this institute, I was in charge of trying to put this together. So if it looks like it was put together last minute, it's because it was. I planned this actually more for more of a discussion with y'all about what we can do to add considerations for AI into our syllabus if we can. Or yeah, like I said, adding it over here into your assignments or reworking your assignments so that they aren't susceptible to students using AI in nefarious ways. So our outcome here today, I've just got this one outcome. Like I said, I learn better by doing things. So instead of talking at y'all a bunch, I'm hoping to have a conversation, a discussion with y'all about these issues and how we can solve them. As I said, if you were here at the beginning, it would be good to, oh, hold on. We got a bunch of people coming in. Looks like maybe one of our presenters wasn't able to make it today for whatever reason. So welcome everyone who was in another track. I just got started. This is our outcome for this time that we have today. Modify your course in at least one way to include ethical considerations around AI. If that seems very vague, it's that way on purpose. It gives you a chance to modify in any way you would like. So if you're a faculty member and you want to edit one of your assignments, you could go that way. If you want to put something into your syllabus, you can do that. But the goal here for this time is for you to make one change somewhere in your course. So I said this earlier, if you can find an assignment that you feel is especially susceptible to students using AI to do all the work. So like the classic example would be like write a 5-page paper on this topic. In the past, maybe the students would just do it. Like I would say most of the students would just do it honestly and put in the work. There are some students that would go and find other ways to get it done, which kind of it's kind of a full circle, and it's something that Dr. Bertram Gallant talked about in her keynote, is that the students are always going to find the easiest way to get something done, and if they get a good result by doing it that easy way, even though it's not going to help them in the future, their goal at that time is to get a good grade on the whatever they're trying to do. And so if y'all have some examples, then it will be I think better for everyone later on, so that we can actually look at actual examples of things, of assignments that either you as a faculty member or like I said, if you're working with faculty members, maybe one that they're worried about. So if your teacher or one of your instructors came up to you and said, I'm really worried, like hopefully we can in this time help to alleviate some of that doom and gloom related to AI for all the people out there that are worried about it. So how we're going to do this today, we're going to have some discussions. We're going to start with, we're going to discuss why we need to talk to students about generative AI. We are going to talk about what we should talk to students about AI, generative AI, and then how we can do it. So what the why, what, and the how, pretty simple here. To start off, why do we need to talk to our students about AI? I am going to ask you all to share your idea of why you think we should talk to our students about AI. I was trying to find a stat. I heard the stat somewhere. I went to many sessions at a AI conference in Orlando a couple weeks ago. I was trying to find the stat that had the percentage of people, job interviews where the interviewer asked the interviewee if they've used generative AI and their experience and skill using generative AI. I couldn't find it. If anybody has that, put it in the chat because or actually send it to me directly because I wanted to do a little game with that. But I instead will write this here. This is a quote, and it's also the title of the presentation that was just before mine. You won't lose your job to AI, you will lose your job to someone who can use AI. And so I don't think much more needs to be said about that. I'm curious about what y'all think though. So let's have a discussion. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second and give y'all a chance. If you, I would say, raise the hand if you want to speak. Out if you want to chat. I will read what's coming in on the chat. So Chris Wilkins here says it's a tool just like Excel and many other things that are needed on the job. Okay, right. Oh, Kristen Carver says because it's there. Yes, it is there. Anybody else? It isn't going away. Yes, Katie, we're gonna go into that. Okay, we're gonna talk about that for sure. Don says it's already happening. Okay, everybody know we're not going to spend any more time on that. Let's go on to the main thing that we need to talk about here is what exactly do we need to talk about with our students? Now, I wasn't able to attend the session, but there was a session yesterday. Was anybody able to attend the session that was called If They Build It, Student-Led Generative Student Use Policy? It was by Melissa Adams. Was anybody able to? Katie, could you maybe give us a little bit about what she talked about? Because I feel like that approach of including the students in the policy making, I mean, I wasn't there, but I assume that's what she was talking about.
Yeah, give me, well, I'll summarize and then I'll drop it in chat. She had a guide too where she put kind of the whole toolkit in the list, but in a nutshell, um, she was inspired by an initiative at, I believe it was Boston University, where basically a class of students kind of took a quarter and the topic of the class was related to like ethics and computing use, and that class's output was a policy that eventually got adopted by that college as their Gen AI use policy. So working backwards from that, Melissa worked with a focus group of students where they paid the students a small stipend to work a certain number of hours a week and meet, and they did background readings and they talked to constituents across the community college. And then this group of about 12 students and their faculty advisors kind of put together a draft policy that is going to go before to TCC's, Tacoma Community College's faculty senate in upcoming in fall, I think. So it's not a policy yet, but they had a draft policy that was student sort of led that emphasized what the students were interested in looking at and seeing with interactions with AI. And it was really interesting because the policy itself, she showed it. They the students were really focused on uh, you should cite AI when you use it. You should be clear about what is your thinking and what is the AI thinking. You should follow the guidelines of the class. So like all of this stuff we have been talking about is stuff that the students wanted to build into the policy.
Very nice. Thank you
And
so
I'll try
much.
and drop that link in the chat.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I would definitely appreciate that. I think everybody else that wasn't able to attend would also appreciate that. So yeah, that's as somebody who I'm the head of the AI task force at Clover Park Technical College, and that policy, getting that policy in, that's tough. That's a long process, and I'm impressed that she was able to do it with the student input. That's something that we sent it out to all of our faculty to check out, but getting the student voice in there, I think is important. And so there's the link to the toolkit in the chat. Thank you, Katie, for giving us that summary and providing that. I want to read here what Latoya said. We should talk about AI tools with our students because they can and have been used against minoritized communities. Worrying whether AI will steal our jobs is arguably not the biggest concern. Okay. Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a really good point. So, and then one more here from Eleanor. I was concerned recently because an instructor called a student out for citing the use of generative AI. They thought the student made a mistake and was caught. So this is kind of gets into what I want to work on and talk about right now in this class, or in this session, is that in your class, when you're giving your class, it might be a good idea to talk about it with your students. So that could come in many different forms. It could come in a formal discussion. It could come in something that you're adding into your syllabus and then going over that with your students. Here are the questions. I'm going to try something here. I'm going to try a thing. So bear with me. No, what's happening? Oh, here we go. Okay. So here are the questions that I think are important to talk about with well, with yourselves first. What do you think if you were teaching a class, where do you fall on this spectrum? Do you think AI should be permitted? Do you think it should be forbidden? Do you think there is it depends on the assignment, all that kind of stuff. Somebody in the chat earlier said something about brainstorming. So is brainstorming with AI cheating? How might AI enhance or inhibit learning in this class? Number 3, if AI is allowed, must students share their AI prompts as part of the assignment submission? How should AI use be credited? And then what are the limits? Some people don't know what AI can do, or what it can do well, or what it can't do well. I'm sure if you all have played around in it, maybe you know some of this. And what are our statements about the students' ultimate accountability? Like if they use it, some things, and they get caught, right, using it, then the accountability is on the student, right? So let me put these in the chat, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to attempt a breakout room. So it worked earlier. I don't know if it's going to work out here. Those are the numbers, and what I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to make 5 rooms. So that's going to put 5 to 6 of you in there. And I think I'm going to let you choose the room that you want to go in. So what we'll do now, I'll give you all 10 minutes here. so probably 9 minutes with a 60-minute timer or 60-second timer, excuse me, to talk about these things with your group. And like I said, if you want to just think about it for yourself, you can. If you want to think about it in general, like that's where you want to take the conversation. I think talking about it specifically as it relates to you, that that kind of your unique perspective on this and how it relates to your class. So if you're a uh, security specialist, if you're teaching network or security specialist, then how is that going to work as compared to somebody who is teaching welding or something like that. So I'm going to open up. Let me see here. Are we choosing the room? Yes, that's right. So Katie asked the question. So the room number, actually here, let me see if I can actually change. I'll try to change the room numbers so that, yeah, I can change the room's numbers. So hop in the room, talk for 10 minutes. Same thing maybe as we did earlier, pick somebody who would want to share out. Or if multiple people have multiple perspectives, I'm sure everybody would want to hear those things. Then when we come back, we can talk about now that we have this idea, we'll share out and then we'll look at some specific examples if you all have them, some assignments. So I'm going to open up these rooms now. Before I do, everybody clear what's going on? Everybody's going into one of these rooms. They're choosing based on these questions, the numbers, and then they're going to have a conversation, discussion with the other people about that topic. All right. I'll hop around from room to room, and I'll also be in here most of the time if anybody has any questions. See you soon. All right, that should be everyone. So let's go through these one by one and hear about what you all talked about in your breakout rooms. When is AI use permitted or forbidden in the course? This could be a question, like I said, that you can ask for yourself, or this question that you can ask to your students.
Dan, do you want to sum up our discussion?
Why is it always me?
Yeah, everybody wants to hear from Dan. Dan, you should have presented.
Well, yeah, I mean, we discussed. Well, I guess I'm forgetting your name, Doctor, the Spanish teacher at Olympic.
Yes, Gabriela, Gabriela.
Gabriela.
Yeah. And Greg and I, we discussed her class. She teaches Spanish, and there were certain contexts where she could identify ways students could use AI, like more in conversation practice, oral conversation practice. We could set up a bot for something like that. So more of those opportunities, but not necessarily wanting it for written assignments. And Greg was lamenting the fact that he's spending a lot of time gathering evidence on AI use in his class, and that's a lot of labor on his end to try and prove it, and students are denying it. And we've seen this. This is historical too, like with plagiarism. We've all dealt with plagiarism in the past. This is kind of another iteration of the plagiarism issue, although it's kind of more cheating than plagiarism per se. And so the amount of labor that goes into that, and students kind of denying that they're doing it, but there being certain tells in the things they might be posting in conversations or discussion boards that are kind of ghosts of the chat they might have had with the AI bot, right? Or the prompt they may have put in the AI bot. So, and then, yeah, one thing that we discussed too is, if the commodification of education is what's driving this, right? Like a lot of students, some students are coming in just wanting the grade, they're not necessarily wanting the education. This has been going on for a long time, though, right? It's what often drives plagiarism. It's often what drives cheating, and also those students who are really struggling, who are looking for some sort of lifeline. And in the past, it has been either cheating or plagiarism or over reliance on tutoring. And with tutors, you can train them to draw boundaries, and you can set up policies to keep the students from overusing the tutor. AI doesn't have any boundaries, so it's open access for the most part, and students can use it as much as they want to generate content and responses. So the student in that point is coming at the relationship with their educators in a transactional nature. I'm just wanting the grade, so I'm going to do whatever I can to get the grade. And maybe the policy at times should be more transactional. That's an idea that we floated, but I mean, there's also the counter argument that these situations when they arise should be an educational opportunity as well. But again, the labor that goes into the amount of AI use people are seeing or faculty are seeing might make that prohibitive. So some things that we discussed.
Okay. Nice. That's when you got a little bit of time to talk, then you can cover a lot of ground, a little bit more time compared to the 5 minutes we had earlier. But thank you for saying that and sharing that. It sounds like a little bit of both, right? A little bit of mix. Maybe it's permitted here, maybe it's not permitted here. We're gonna get into that a little bit later on. But I want to move on to the next question. Is brainstorming with AI cheating? How might AI enhance or inhibit learning in this class? So this is a question, once again, I framed them as discussions that you can ask and have with your students and to get their input on it. But what were the group was David, Mark, and Tula. What did you all talk about in your group? If anybody wants to.
Well, we pretty much just said that, well, I think we all agreed that the brainstorming with using it is okay. I mean, because we should use the tools at our disposal while we're brainstorming. But if we rely solely on that, then that isn't the best means of learning, because you just don't pull it up and say, okay, we're done. But you need to actually talk about the results and where and come up with your own ideas. If you copy and paste what you get from AI, then you're not doing what's needed.
Okay. So maybe even within an assignment, having AI use acceptable for that part, but maybe not for the putting together the rough draft or something like that. Okay. And group number 3, if AI is allowed, must students share the AI prompts as part of the assignment submission? And or how should AI be created or credited, sorry.
Yeah, so we had a quick conversation about this. Most of us agreed it hadn't occurred to us to request the AI prompt as part of an assignment before, but depending on the assignment and how much we wanted to also work with students and see like their metacognition, we thought that would be really good. Maybe not for every assignment, but for assignments, again, where you're using it like for brainstorming, especially since a lot of us talked about through various sessions here and elsewhere we're learning about this summer. Sometimes you can put almost the exact same thing into a chatbot and get a different response every single time. Mm-hmm. So it can help to see what did the student initially put in, so you could work with the student on that. We also all agreed that if we were allowing a generative AI for part of an assignment, we would definitely want it credited. We thought that was an important step. And we thought it would also be important in the credit. I shared that I think this is part of a lot of standard citation styles too, that you put which Gen AI tool in the crediting of the source, because different tools have different data sets and different limitations on their training data and things like that. And we had just a general conversation about there's a lot going on and it's changing very quickly and it's kind of drinking from a fire hose, and different applications in different areas. So like a basic network, IT networking applications class, they might not use it too much at the beginning, but maybe later on when they were writing policy. And for pharmaceutical education, again, maybe not so much for the things where you need to know very fine grained detail, but again, when you're starting to synthesize later, maybe it would be a helpful teaching tool and crediting how it's getting used, things like that. That's kind of the general gist of our conversation.
Okay. Nice. Sounds like y'all had a good one. And I know you brought up limits of AI, which is a good segue to the next group. Looks like we've got, oh, this was biggest group. Does somebody want to talk about the limits of AI?
Hi, this is Kevin Blackwell from Olympic College. I guess I was elected to be the spokesperson for our group. Can everyone hear me okay?
I can hear you well.
All right. So we had a lot of discussion about the limits. Some of the highlights in the short amount of time that we have, I can tell you about. One was the increased carbon footprint and its impact on the environment may limit the adoption and further development of AI. So that's something we should consider. Also, the exponential growth of AI requires an exponential use of power, air conditioning, storage, compute, and those resources have to come from somewhere, be borrowed or stolen or whatever. And so we have to look at, that may limit AI adoption and growth. Also, what happens when all of the human-made original content has been consumed by large language models, and then LLMs begin to consume content created by AI itself and non-original content? Will the quality of responses begin to degrade? We liken this to the .com bubble bursting. We're like, oh, maybe the AI apocalypse won't be us becoming, or submitting ourselves to our AI overlords. It'll be just like AI just takes an exponential dive and goes down the toilet because all the content that could be consumed got consumed, and then the quality of the content being consumed is, it's basically just eating itself.
Now we're all learning from that content, and so that content's affecting what we produce.
Yeah.
Kind of
Also,
like this downward spiral.
yeah, downward spiral. Also, will the regulation of AI result in inequitable access to the tools needed to learn and make a living? And so should this limit AI, or will this be a limiting factor? Also, can and will AI be weaponized? Should limits be imposed before this begins, if it has not already happened? And then limiting the degree to which AI can and will be misused and abused should be something that is addressed sooner than later. So these are just some of the things that were mentioned in our group in the short amount of time that we had.
All right. And y'all took that in a different direction than I thought it was going to go. Very important to talk about, and I'm glad y'all spent the time to talk about that. And I hope anybody who is listening is getting some awareness to some of these ethical considerations that are quite alarming if you look at some of the data, but not. I don't think we have a lot more time to talk about that in this specific session, but important stuff nonetheless. Last question here for group 5. What's our statement about students' ultimate accountability for the work? So actually, I'm realizing now this should have been something that as we talked about these questions, something that we can come up with after we talked about everything. But I want to hear what y'all came up with in this room without the other questions being considered, or maybe you did consider them. Does anybody want to talk from group 5? Group 5, I'm going to put y'all on the spot here. Do you have the link to that one, Jian? Allison, Jian, Latoya, Sanu?
Well, we had some discussions in group 5 about, if students are using AI for their assessments, first, how much original student generated content versus how much AI content would, constitute something that we could really say was an accurate assessment of the students' learning. But then also, how AI is limiting, and our students, we are holding them accountable if they are blindly putting in AI content, and it is limiting them in terms of their ability to learn. So we had a discussion around languages and how, if students do use AI for that written content in languages, that they're providing content that is way beyond where they would be at that language learner level, and how it's really, they're cheating themselves.
That's a big one that actually I went to a personal trainer like 10 years ago, and I was trying to not doing as much as I know I can, and then he says, don't cheat yourself, and then that stuck with me. Like, okay, if I'm here to do the work, then I should actually do the work instead of just saying that I'm here, you know what I mean? So okay, very nice. Let's move on now to the how. And this is where I said if y'all have some assignments that you are worried that are susceptible to AI, or students using AI in a way that they shouldn't. Like it misses the mark of the, like, for example, the essay is not, the essay is the outcome to write that, to write a nice essay, but it's the process of learning how to put an essay together that is important. So while people are coming up with some examples of that, I'm going to post this one in the chat related to the policy statements for the people who are interested in adding something into their policies. Oh, and I see somebody put the NPR link there, or somebody was talking about the AI and its effect on the environment. This Padlet is something that I got from, I don't know actually where I got this from, but it's something that we brought up when we were trying to think about our AI policy in our course. And then I also have some language, and I'm sure you all have seen something like this before. I think, if I remember correctly, Brett Christie was talking about it in his session. This is, or something similar. This is the one that I created for our generative AI and higher education course. If you all are unfamiliar with that, there is, if you use Canvas and you go into the Canvas Commons on the side and you type in generative AI and higher education, this is a course that we created at Clover Park for our faculty to go through to learn how to use AI tools. But the second, which says 17, but if you're in the course, you'll understand it's the second module, goes over the ethical standards, and that's where we have this one here. This course is free to use. It's in the Commons. So if y'all need something to go over with your faculty, that could be a good one. All right, let's talk about some assignment statements. Does anybody have an example assignment that maybe either you as an instructor are worried that students are using AI to complete it, or if you're working with faculty and they have come up to you and are suspicious of the students' work on it? Anybody know examples? And that's fine. All right,
I have a
Ellen.
language example, but it doesn't apply to a lot of these people's jobs if I give you an example. But and it's also an example of a prompt where I was asking the kids to use it in class, to use AI.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's not exactly going to be, but I'm sure that we could all get
It's
some insights.
I let them use AI as much as they want to help them with their oral assessments because they have to do all their oral with no notes. So whatever they learn from AI, they'd have to memorize it or study it to get it right, right? So AI can only help in that sense.
Okay.
So basically the prompt just says, write a prompt, make sure to put the grammar points that you have to learn, like say, using the past tense and imperfect, create a conversation where you interact at a hotel desk, there's a problem with your room, and then how it's solved. And it's going to be you have to put in like the register. It's really important that you say that it's the formal and informal register. And then they have to read through it and edit it and change it, and make sure that if there's any words in there that are just too big for them to use, they need to use synonyms that are things that they already know. And then they practice it and they have to know the whole skit and do it in front of the class. But they get to use AI as much as they want for doing skits because, you know, that eventually it all has to be in their brain when they show up.
So the outcome is for them to memorize something, right?
Right,
more
to
than
create
the
pathway.
content.
I know a lot of people don't like memorization, but with language, it creates pathways. And if you memorize something correctly, that becomes like a railroad that you can drive other cars down. You know, it creates synapses and pathways in the brain.
Yeah. So I think that's a perfect example of focusing on the outcome. I see Snowy in here. That's the director of outcomes and assessments over at Clover Park Technical College. Hi, Snowy. That's something that we're really focusing on this year with getting our faculty very clear on, is to make those clear outcomes. So you're having them give a speech on something, but the focus is on for them to create those pathways in their brain, right? If you're giving them if you're letting them find the information whatever way they want, use AI and do all that kind of stuff, but still the outcome is that they can memorize it and give an oral presentation. So does somebody else have an example? We have a couple minutes left. We got one time for one. I saw Eleanor. Did you want to share?
Sure, I can just say I have a class where I state very clearly in the syllabus, which by the way, I'm going to change. I'll show my face even though I didn't plan on it. It's a class that is completely reflection. It's their journey through making decisions about their next steps. This is a class that's been designed for pre-college students who are about to go into college or jobs or whatever. So it's very much like a choose your own adventure. And each step of the way, they have to reflect on what they learned and take the next step. So at the end of the class, they have a resume, they have sort of a pathway, they have a job, but it's very individual. And a couple of quarters ago, in my innocence, I was getting these amazing, super hyper thoughtful responses from English language learners. And it took me a while, actually only a quarter, to realize what was going on. And they were all the same, of course, because they were not reflections of the person and they didn't reflect real thinking. So I have a statement in my syllabus now. But interestingly, once I said, I don't care about your English. I don't care. I just want to see that you're thinking as you go. It didn't help. But some of them come out of the class. Thank you so much. That was so interesting. And I did the work, but a lot of them were like, no, thanks.
Oh, okay.
So that's an example. It seems to invite AI responses.
Yeah, what's the what's the language that you used in the syllabus? Do you have an example of?
Well, I have the old now, after attending this, I'll change it. I say, please do not use ChatGPT or any other tool to generate answers to questions in this course. I am grading you on your personal discoveries and
Mhm.
reflections in this class, not your English. AI generated work will get an automatic 0. It doesn't help you and it wastes my time.
Oh,
Okay, I was a little.
so right at time. That's something that I wanted to go into more detail about is so then what happen you have this in your syllabus. What happens when you do get it? I guess it's clear. It says they get a 0, but how do you know that it's that they created it with ChatGPT? So all right, let's I want to be cognizant of time. This is scheduled till 12:50. So if y'all need to go, I want to say thank you for coming to the AI Institute. I hope you all got a lot of good information from all of the sessions here. I'm sorry if this last minute presentation, I mean, I hope you got some good stuff out of here, but I'm sorry if you didn't. Yeah, have a good rest of your weekend. If you have questions about the Canvas course, stick around. I can answer some Canvas course questions. Look out for the email that has all of the resources and presentation slides and all that kind of stuff. The LibGuide will have all of the YouTube recordings. So if you miss something or if you want to reference something, that'll be on the LibGuide. They'll also be on the Canvas course, but some people are having trouble getting in. If you do go through the Canvas course, you can get those badges that you can take back to your institution and say, here, I've done professional development, and show them some proof. So thanks again, everybody. Have a good one.